It's what I can do. My husband was very sick for a long time, and then he died. And he didn't pass away, he died. And I didn't think I could ever work again. We were so close, and he was...
Mitzi Gaynor's family waited until after her death to speak out. They had to. What they discovered in her Beverly Hills home was too important to ignore. For 70 years, she carried the burden of what happened with Howard Hughes in 1949. She was just 18. He was 44 and obsessed. Her family found evidence of something that could have destroyed her career before it started. The letters, the gifts, the land deals. It all tells a different story. What Hughes did to her changed Hollywood forever. But nobody knew until now. Mitzi Gaynor was born on September 4th, 1931, in Chicago. Her real name was Francesca Marlene Duchovny von Gerber. Her parents had come from Hungary not long before that. Her father, Henry, had once played music in the streets of Budapest to survive. Her mother, Pauline, was a dancer who had run from strict traditions. They arrived in America during a time when alcohol was banned and jobs were hard to find. They had noble blood, but no money. The name von Gerber showed they had once been part of Hungarian nobility, but they now lived in small apartments in crowded neighborhoods. Still, music and dancing stayed in their lives. They raised Mitzi in a home filled with rhythm and grace. By the time she was 3, her family moved to Elgin, Illinois. She spent a lot of time with her grandmother there and saw her first stages in local theaters. Years later, a surprising detail came out. Her stepbrother from her father's second marriage became a well-known anti-war activist named Donald W. Duncan. Even though their lives were very different, both came from the same roots of struggle and bold choices. That same fire pushed Mitzi toward a life in the spotlight. When she was just 4 years old in 1935, Mitzi started ballet lessons in a small studio in Chicago. Her teacher was very strict. She came from the famous Charisse family. Mitzi's mother, who used to dance herself, pushed her to keep going. At age 7, Mitzi did her first solo performance in 1938 at a local church. She was so nervous, she wet herself on stage. But the crowd cheered so loudly, she had to go back out and perform again after drying off. That moment taught her something important. If you keep going, even after something embarrassing, people will still support you. By 1939, she was secretly learning tap and acrobatics. These extra moves surprised everyone. In 1942, when she was 11, her family moved again, this time to Detroit. There, Mitzi trained even harder. At 12, she won a talent contest with a bold routine that mixed dance and flips. She won $50 and caught the eye of someone from Hollywood. Her cheeks were round and her legs were long, not what people expected in a star, but she practiced for 10 hours a day. At 13, she joined the Los Angeles Civic Light Opera. That same year, in 1944, she danced in a show called Song Without Words. Even at that young age, she was already becoming a star. The move to Detroit in 1942 was a big change. Her father found work as a music director, but it meant leaving all her friends behind in Chicago. They lived near the Fox Theater in a small apartment. Mitzi went to public school and trained in secret because she didn't want to get in trouble for skipping class. She practiced for 8 hours a day, hiding it from everyone. In 1943, when she was 12, she entered a talent contest without telling anyone. Her routine was so full of energy that she won first prize, a $100 war bond. The judges were shocked. A talent scout from 20th Century Fox was in the audience and offered her a screen test. That same year, her parents divorced, which made things even harder. But that $200 prize money helped her family through a very rough time. By 1944, she made it to Hollywood. She even lied about her age so she could work. That was her escape from a hard Midwestern life. The Great Depression hit her family hard. They had just come to Chicago in 1931. Her father could only find small music jobs that paid $25 a week in 1933. Her mother had to pawn jewelry just to feed them. In 1935, they got evicted twice. Mitzi slept on a little cot in a crowded room. From age 13, Mitzi began sending money to her parents. That struggle made her stronger. In 1944, something amazing happened. Mitzi was just 13 when she was spotted by a producer named Edwin Lester at a dance recital in Detroit. He was looking for talent for the Los Angeles Civic Light Opera. He was so impressed that he brought her straight to Hollywood and helped her join the Hollywood Professional School. There she took classes while training and performing on stage. She worked with the Civic Light Opera and danced in the background roles. Even though her family had noble roots, it was clear she had worked for everything she got. By age 12, she was already dancing at army camps. There weren't enough adult performers because of World War II, so young stars like Mitzi filled the gap. Critics noticed that she danced with the skill of someone much older. But behind the smiles, it wasn't easy. She trained so hard she often fell asleep in rehearsals. Her mother, Pauline, pushed her just as hard. By 1945, Mitzi was playing big parts in shows like Roberta. She had made it. That same year, at age 13, she performed in Song Without Words at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles. The crowds were huge, up to 8,000 people. She danced complex routines with sharp spins and perfect footwork. Critics were stunned that someone so young could perform with such grace. She had been training since she was 4, and it showed. Rehearsals lasted 12 hours. She still had to go to school. Sometimes she collapsed from exhaustion. But the show brought in more than $50,000, which was a massive amount in 1944. That moment pushed her from background dancer to leading roles. People were amazed by her discipline. Older dancers were said to be jealous of her, but she kept moving forward. On March 15, 1949, when Mitzi was 18, she signed a 7-year film contract with 20th Century Fox. She had auditioned over and over, sometimes 15 times a week, in 1948, singing opera songs for hours. The deal gave her $500 a week, which would be around $6,000 a week today. One executive didn't like her real name, calling it too much like a deli. He gave her a new name, Mitzi Gaynor, after another star, Janet Gaynor. Her first big movie came out on September 15, 1950. It was called My Blue Heaven. She was 19 and played a singer-dancer named Gloria Adams. She starred with Betty Grable, but many said Mitzi outshined her. Her tap number was filled with life and energy. The film made over $2 million. After that, letters started pouring in, 500 each week. There were even rumors of a romance with Dan Daly, her co-star. Whether true or not, Mitzi had become a star overnight. The next year, on July 6, 1951, she played a sorority girl in Take Care of My Little Girl. She was 20 and showed she could act, not just dance. Her scenes about college hazing were intense. One scene showed mental abuse that was rarely talked about in 1951. Fans sent her 1,000 letters a month. Some schools even banned the film. But critics saw her depth and praised her. She didn't want to be stuck in one kind of role, and this film proved she had range. Later that year, on November 1, 1951, she starred in Golden Girl as Lotta Crabtree. She was nominated for a Golden Globe on January 24, 1952. She had to learn old dances like the polka and sing songs from the 1860s. One song was even nominated for an Oscar. She broke a toe during filming but kept going. The movie showed Civil War spies and caused debates about the real story. But fans loved her energy. She got 2,000 fan letters every week. Even though reviews were mixed, the movie made $1.5 million. In 1952, she starred in Bloodhounds of Broadway as Emily Ann Stackerly. A bad fall on March 5, 1952, broke her ankle and delayed the movie. Fox lost $50,000. The injury made the news. Mitzi kept working, even though her ankle hurt for years. She later joked, "I've broken all 10 toes, both ankles." Fans sent 1,500 sympathy cards. The movie made $1.2 million. In 1953, she played vaudeville star Eva Tanguay in The I Don't Care Girl. It came out on January 14th. The dances were bold and pushed limits. Some of her costumes were so revealing, the studio had to change them. Some scenes were cut after bad preview reactions. Still, the movie made $1.1 million. Fans sent 1,200 letters praising her fearless performance. Some of her co-stars added jokes during filming that stayed in the final cut. On her 26th birthday, September 4th, 1957, Mitzi Gaynor walked into one of the most exhausting auditions of her life. She wanted the role of Nellie Forbush in South Pacific, but big names like Elizabeth Taylor, Doris Day, and Lana Turner were being considered. What shocked everyone was that Frank Sinatra, who wasn't even in the film, stopped his own movie to help coach her. He believed in her that much. While other actresses gave up, Mitzi pushed through a brutal 2-hour test of non-stop singing, dancing, and acting. Out of over 200 women, she got the part. It was a massive win, but the pressure nearly broke her. Still, that role earned her a Golden Globe nomination and made her a star. Unlike many in Hollywood at the time, Mitzi didn't let anyone dub her voice. In South Pacific, she sang every word herself. Her most famous scene was filmed during a real Hawaiian rainstorm on August 12, 1957. Rain poured down, soaking her with freezing water while she danced barefoot on scorching hot sand. The pain was real. She got burns on her feet, but never stopped. Her live singing stood out while others in the cast had their voices replaced. That song, "I'm Gonna Wash That Man Right Out of My Hair," became iconic. The soundtrack was a huge hit, topping the UK charts for 70 weeks and selling over 1.8 million copies by 2006. Behind the scenes, things weren't easy. She and director Joshua Logan often argued. He wanted Nellie to seem more hateful, reflecting the racism of the 1940s. But Mitzi didn't agree. She changed a line during rehearsal to something softer. "I was taught to hate, and it shocked everyone." That one change led to 17 retakes. Some people thought she'd get fired, but the audience loved her version. Critics said it made her performance more real. Her choice helped the film speak to the growing civil rights movement in America. The movie was a hit. It made $36.8 million in North America, which would be around $380 million today. Globally, it crossed $90 million by 1960. Yet Mitzi was hard on herself. In a 2009 interview in Kauai, she said she felt miscast. She thought the camera didn't flatter her and said her acting was just fair. She did 45 makeup tests, trying to look better under the harsh lighting, and she felt her dancing wasn't used enough. Fans were shocked to hear this, especially since the film was nominated for 3 Oscars and stayed on the UK charts for 115 weeks. After that, she took a bold step and starred in Happy Anniversary in 1959. She played a wife who reveals she once cheated and even hinted at having premarital sex. One of her lines, "We've been celebrating for 15 years," nearly got the movie banned in places like Kansas and Ohio. This was the 1950s, and people weren't ready for that. They had to redo 12 scenes and went $200,000 over budget. But people came to see it. Over 1.2 million watched, and even though reviews were mixed, Mitzi proved she could handle more serious, edgy roles. In 1968, she made her first TV special called Mitzi. It aired on NBC, not CBS, as some think. It wasn't just a show. It was a big, colorful celebration of her talents. She danced with 50 performers in bright costumes and included songs that showed her personal side. Over 30 million people watched, and the special won an Emmy for using color in a bold new way. She was 37, and she was also making $45,000 a week in Las Vegas at the time. That show made her a TV star. The next year, in 1969, her second special took things even further. She did a full comedy number about the Apollo 11 moon landing just months after it happened. Wearing a shiny spacesuit, she danced in fake zero gravity and made jokes about how NASA spent over $25 billion. Some viewers thought she went too far, especially during a part where she lip-synced to edited moon audio. But 25 million people tuned in. The show was full of bold moves and touched on real things like Vietnam protests, which made it feel current and raw. Back in 1964, she shared the stage with the Beatles on The Ed Sullivan Show. Over 70 million people were watching. She did a sizzling 9-minute dance routine while thousands of fans screamed outside. In a surreal backstage moment, Paul McCartney borrowed her hairdryer and asked for her autograph. That episode was seen by more Americans than the moon landing later. The Catholic Church wasn't pleased. They criticized her moves as too sexy, but she didn't care. She was standing tall at a turning point in pop culture, right between old Hollywood and the rock and roll era. Between 1968 and 1978, she made 9 TV specials. They became yearly events. One had Bob Hope and 100 male dancers. Another showed her baking cookies. Some were themed like the Roaring Twenties, her 1974 special, Mitzi. A tribute to the American housewife, talked about real issues like unequal pay and the burdens of being a housewife. At a time when women earned only 59 cents for every dollar men made, she danced in aprons and heels, using humor to make her point. It was bold, feminist, and powerful without shouting. It got Emmy nods and drew 25 million viewers. Before all of this, in February 1961, Mitzi had taken over Las Vegas. She started performing at the Flamingo Hotel and stayed there until 1965, doing over 600 shows. She was pulling in $45,000 a week by 1968, more than almost anyone, even Liberace. Her acts mixed comedy, ballet, wild costumes, and surprise reveals. Bob Mackie began designing for her in 1966, creating jaw-dropping gowns that peeled away mid-dance. In 1964, the Catholic Church even called her act lascivious, but the fans kept coming. She set the bar for women in Vegas. Then, in 1966, she moved to the Riviera Hotel, where she stayed until 1972. Her contract was massive, $50,000 a week by the 1970s. She impersonated stars like Marlene Dietrich and did wild, daring dances that lit up the stage. One routine was so weird and brilliant, it involved a cowbell, total darkness, and dancers popping out of nowhere. Bob Mackie kept pushing limits with his costumes. This was the era that locked in her legacy as a Vegas icon. In the 1980s, she took her one-woman show on the road. The title was Mitzi. What's a nice girl like you doing in a place like this? Even in her 50s, she was dancing, doing comedy sketches, and roasting fans live during the show. At age 51 in 1982, she was still doing high-energy routines. Sometimes she'd make jokes about what people in the front row were wearing, and the crowd would lose it. She didn't slow down, even while traveling 8 months a year. In 1989, at 58, she joined the national tour of Anything Goes. She had a hip injury, but still kicked high and wore tight, glittery outfits. People couldn't believe how strong and graceful she still was. In one number, she sang a line about cocaine that hit hard given what was going on in the world at the time. Her stage presence silenced entire theaters. Even into the 2000s, Mitzi didn't stop. She toured with Razzle Dazzle, My Life Behind the Sequins, from 2009 to 2014. At 88 in 2019, she was performing seated with Michael Feinstein because of a leg injury, but her voice still sparkled. She sang "There's No Business Like Show Business" and said she still dreamed of dancing again. She used lyrics gifted by Ira Gershwin and saved her sheet music in archives. Her mix of old Hollywood charm with modern jokes kept pulling in new fans. Back in 1954, she met Jack Bean at the Chateau Marmont. He proposed just after their third date. Her family was shocked. Her Hungarian father, Henry, worried it was too soon, especially since she was just coming off her Fox contract. But they married in San Francisco on November 18, 1954. Only 50 people came. Jack left his job to become her manager. He negotiated her South Pacific contract for $500,000 in 1958. Their love mixed with business, and it lasted. They never had kids. In 2013, Mitzi said having children would have ended her career. She was always on the move: films, Vegas, TV, and they chose work instead. Fans were stunned because it went against what most people expected from couples then. Jack handled the finances, and she performed. But it wasn't always perfect. In 1956, he got jealous of Bing Crosby, and they fought. From 1960, they lived in the same Beverly Hills home. They bought it for $100,000. After Jack died in 2006, Mitzi wore his wedding ring on a bracelet. She said she felt his presence even years later. She talked to him in her mind when making decisions. That house was full of memories: film props, costumes, awards. She lived there until she passed away on October 17, 2024, at 93. During the Vegas years, things got tough. Jack would get jealous of her male dancers. In 1970, one fight delayed a whole TV special. Once, in 1968, things got so bad they nearly divorced. But they tried couples therapy, which was rare at the time. In the end, their love held. Even his jealousy became fuel for her success. He managed her millions. He even stopped her from wearing a costume he thought was too revealing in 1975. They fought, they loved, and they endured. After he passed, Mitzi handled everything alone. At 75, she managed a $20 million estate. She said she still talked to him in her thoughts. She even turned down a $2 million Broadway offer in 2010 because she felt it wasn't right, and that Jack would have told her no. In 2008, she made a documentary that won an Emmy. In 2017, she was honored in the Great American Songbook. She hosted annual memorials for Jack with close friends. She stayed strong, independent, and full of heart until the very end. One night, Hughes proposed to her. He begged her again and again. She was only 19 and already starring in movies like Golden Girl. But just when she was starting to think about his offer, she found out the truth. He hadn't just proposed to her. He'd also proposed to dozens of other women. Some people even said the number was over 400. It hit her like a slap. She told him she couldn't marry someone who didn't even know how to choose. She ended it then and there. Later, she joked about it, saying she was young and so hot, but not stupid. That breakup opened the door for someone else, Jack Bean, the man she would meet in 1952 and stay with for the rest of her life. Even after it ended, Hughes stayed in her story. During their time together, he gave her jewelry, earrings, a necklace, and a diamond ring. She kept them all. She even wore them during interviews decades later, like in 2019 when she showed off the ring while laughing about the past. That same ring went up for auction in 2022. It was part of a group of her personal jewelry, and fans were shocked when the ring alone sold for a fortune. Some said it might have been worth over $200,000. These weren't just shiny things. They were pieces of a time in her life when everything was fast, exciting, and confusing. She had worn them during movie promotions back in 1958, when South Pacific made her a household name. She had held on to them as memories, not regrets. And when they sold, people weren't just buying gems. They were buying a piece of old Hollywood's strangest love story. But the wildest part wasn't the ring. It was the land. Back in the early 1950s, Hughes gave her a strange piece of advice. He told her to buy some land in Las Vegas. Buy dirt, he said. He even gave her $25 per acre to help. Mitzi bought 5 acres. At the time, it felt like nothing. The Strip was mostly empty desert, but she kept the land for nearly 60 years. Then, in 2011, she sold it for $2 million. What started as a weird tip from an eccentric man turned into one of the smartest moves she ever made. She later bought property in Beverly Hills and even owned part of the Flamingo Hotel, making $40,000 a week from her cabaret act. That land became her golden parachute. Long after the romance ended and Hughes had faded into seclusion, years passed, and in 2010, something magical happened. At the age of 78, Mitzi finally performed her first real cabaret show in New York. It had taken her 60 years to get there. She danced, told stories, wore Bob Mackie outfits, and joked with the crowd. She did high kicks. She did the splits. People couldn't believe what they were seeing. It was called Razzle Dazzle, My Life Behind the Sequins, and she gave everything she had. People cheered like she was still in her 20s. A year before that, in 2009, she had written a book with the same title. In it, she told the truth. She shared her regrets, like turning down the lead role in The Sound of Music because she didn't want to get stuck playing the same cheerful roles. She talked about losing out on Some Like It Hot and wondering if Howard Hughes had shaped her choices too much. She remembered how she once beat out Elizabeth Taylor for a part, and how she met stars like Marlene Dietrich and Irving Berlin. She opened up about what it really meant to survive in Hollywood, to keep performing even when the spotlight started to fade. She had made 17 films, and when movies slowed down, she went to Vegas. Between 1967 and 1978, her TV specials got her 17 Emmy nominations. But no matter what changed, she kept moving forward. Even when life hit her hard, she didn't stop. In 2012, at the age of 81, she had a hip replacement. Most people would take months or years to recover. Not Mitzi. She was back performing at charity events just months later. She never let age slow her down. She believed that if you kept dancing, the world would keep clapping. Her ballet training never left her. Neither did her smile. She lost her husband Jack Bean in 2006, after 52 years together. He had been her rock. They never had children, but they had a full life. After he passed, she poured her energy into performing and helping others. She gave money to arts charities, helped young dancers, and even quietly mentored designers and singers. Many didn't know, until after her death, how much she had done behind the scenes. She loved to cook. At 88, in a 2019 PBS interview, she joked that she'd kill to be 50 again. She shared recipes like her lemon bars and Hungarian goulash. She laughed, told stories, and said the secret to aging was attitude. "Enjoy who you are," she said. "Life is wonderful." That was her. Even when she was hurting, she found a way to sparkle. Then came the final curtain. On October 17, 2024, just a few weeks after her 93rd birthday, Mitzi Gaynor passed away in Los Angeles. Her death was peaceful. She was surrounded by people who loved her. Her managers said she had been full of life until the very end. Her last big appearance had been in a 2023 documentary about her life. She left behind no children, but she left behind a legacy. Her net worth was around $50 million. She had danced, acted, sung, cooked, mentored, and loved her way through nearly a century. She had lived through the golden age of Hollywood and outlasted nearly all of it. And even after she was gone, more secrets came out. Friends and fans shared letters she had written during their worst moments. One designer said she changed his whole life with just one meeting back in 1987. Mitzi never stopped performing, not really. Even in her final years, she was still telling jokes, giving hope and showing up. She was tough and kind and full of sparkle.